always give my vote.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
It's Taco Tuesday!
Hey, who thinks they're making rules around here? If Rhino's late, he owes us a gift card. I'm here. You saw me in the chat. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. A lot going on. We are inching closer and closer and closer to the trade deadline. Does that mean the Kings are done? I sure as heck hope not. A really good win last night. I was really happy with last night. Now, we can see where the holes in the Swiss cheese might be, but again, that's where the next 48 hours come into play. And thank you, everybody, for all of the support the last couple of weeks. Y'all have been showing out, and Grant and I so greatly appreciate it. We've got lots to talk about. Luca introduced in Los Angeles. How about that? It is for real. You are not dreaming. How about Dallas fans, man? Bringing caskets to the arena? What is going on? Dennis Schröder, absolute idiot. We'll get into that. So much to talk about. We move on. A new era of Kings basketball. LaVine supposed to be in the lineup tomorrow. We'll talk about that. Whatever else you want to get into. We've got a lot going. Call the show now. You got the QR code. You also have the link in the chat. The OG phone number is up and running. And who knows? I'm guessing PK is going to be a big topic on this show today. After all, he kind of took over last night on the post-game show, so we might hit that as well. Who knows? It's going to be a fun Tuesday. I'm with you for a couple of hours. Let's get it on the other side. Court is in session on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of Bucks. Goodbye. Oh, if you don't like.
Ruling. We got to update our intros. The intros need to get updated. We will handle that. But what's going on, Ryan in Sacktown with you? Court in session here on If You Don't Like That. How about the Dallas Mavericks? You thought the Luca trade was enough. Not only do they want to win, but they want to win right now. And if you're a Dallas fan, are you taking their offer? Season ticket holders, get your money back. If you already put money down on next season, that's really interesting. Also, we have a new sound since we are in the trade deadline window. We've got about, give or take, 45 hours, 46 hours until the deadline. This will be the new alert. If there are trades in the NBA, we fixed it up just for this show.
Live in Sacramento, Sacramento, there I go.
How do you like it? Did I do good? Did I do well? Again, the new trade alert.
Live in Sacramento, Sacramento, there I go.
One of the classic wrestling in Sacramento moments ever when The Rock popped that song off the top of his head back in 2001, 2002, after the Kings had lost to the Lakers. That one burned. Thanks, Honored Horse. Thanks, Haunted Horse. Yeah. Get a better song. Okay. Taking advice from Haunted Horse. Just put a 1 in the chat if you think it's a good idea to take advice from Haunted Horse. And yes, I have acknowledged that we are going to be updating the intros. We are on it. So thanks for being here. Much to talk about. Kings with a heck of a win last night. 116, 114. Rudy Gobert, one of the dirtiest players in the league. He's undercover dirty. When you think about the list, like if you're a casual fan, his name doesn't usually come up. That shot that he did to Malik Monk last night, that was filthy. That was BS. There was no basketball play. He wasn't trying to protect himself. He wasn't trying to draw a foul. Hell, he wasn't even trying to foul Malik. He was trying to hurt Malik Monk. BS. And how many of you went when Malik hit the ground, especially to the ribs? Right here. I was there. I was in that majority. He seems to be okay. Kings take the court again tomorrow. New look Kings, by the way. And what are the Kings going to be after? The same thing that a lot of other teams are. Rob Pelinka talked about it this morning when the Lakers introduced Luca. Looking for big men. Are there going to be big men on the market? Rob, putting out his little poker's hand, his liar's dice. Well, it's kind of a dry market. A give. Yeah, I don't think so, Rob. There's guys you can get if you want to. You could get some guys if you wanted to. Might be dry for you. But I'm going to ask a question right off the top. What's Austin Reeves' future look like in Los Angeles now? Just asking politely for a friend. So we'll get to that. All right, PK, look, you're already dominating the chat. Look, nobody knew who PK was before last night. And now all of a sudden, PK is taking victory laps around the Kings court, high-fiving everybody because he got Grant to bite. Yes, that was a pretty funny moment, PK. But you did get burned a little bit too. Now, I want to make one point off of that. I did it on the pregame show a few shows back, a couple games ago. I want to be cognizant. There are more eyeballs on this show, and not that this show was ever a place to come on and let your explicitives, whatever you want to call them, 4-letter bombs fly. I will occasionally slip and have one come out. I am not going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to do my best to hold those back, but I am going to also ask you respectfully, please watch what you say when you call the show, especially when it comes to cursing. I have had people reach out to me that said, we are watching the show with our kids. We enjoy the content. We enjoy the community around the show, but the 4-letter bombs, I don't know if I can keep up with those. Okay. So can we try to just, if it's not necessary, let's try to keep it out. Again, me included. Just want to throw that out there. So glad everybody's here. So much to go over. So little time to do it. Kings win last night. Orlando up next. Biggest thing for me on this road trip was the fact that the Kings came home over 500. That's all I wanted from this road trip. Did I want more? Yes. But at the end of the day, before this road trip started, if you said, Rhino, will you take the Kings coming home over 500? Yeah, I would have done it. I would have thought about it for a second because I would hope they could have maybe gone 500 on the trip. They didn't. But they come home 500 with a game that they absolutely should win tomorrow against Orlando, who has won one game in their last 10. They're 1-9 in their last 10, really struggling, just lost to Golden State last night. So we'll get into all that. We'll talk about what we liked about last night, what we didn't like, also the trade market, what's going to be going on there. So happy to have you with me. Let's kick it to the phones. We've already got people waiting. I will get into the things that I want to cover. We no longer have people waiting. So if you called, call back. Now is the time. If not, I will fill the 2 hours right here on. Oh, look who it is. No surprise there. Look who it is. PK called last night, and Grant, not so politely,
Come here. Get out.
get out. Go. You're gone. PK, let's keep it clean, dude. I'm bringing you on. You're setting the tone for the day on the phones, PK. Let's go. PK,
Hey,
what's up?
hey, Ryan. Hey, boys. Great day to be a King. I have a question for you. This morning when I rewatched that DeMar DeRozan's comments post game after we had that amazing win, when he was talking about Zach LaVine and how great of a talent he is, when he was referring to him playing with Bulls, how cool was that moment? Because I think I'm so excited to see Zach now after that comment that DeRozan made after the game.
Why does one comment make you that excited, PK?
Well, because they played really well yesterday. Maybe they played better than I expected against a Minnesota team.
Okay, fair enough.
Maybe they exceeded my expectations, and maybe I was listening to everyone. Everyone on ESPN was saying that without Fox, Kings were going to somehow like fall apart or something, and they played really. They did a really good job yesterday, and now Zach LaVine comes.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing tomorrow night. How's he going to look?
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to give it a go? All indications are that he is supposed to make his debut. And here's the other thing that we're not talking about, PK, is will everybody that's on the Kings right now be playing in that game tomorrow? Because that game takes place, just about 18 hours before the trade deadline. So if something's in the works, you might see people pulled. We've seen people pulled out of games before, not here in Sacramento, but on other teams. So,
Ryan, do you think we're gonna add something before trade deadline expires?
I think you have to, PK. I don't think you can just take LaVine and ride off with all those. Let's be real about it. They're second round picks. It's what they are. San Antonio is going to be good enough in whatever it is, 2031, I think, to where you get their first round pick. But Charlotte, that's going to convert to 2 seconds. So you've got to do something with those, or maybe you consolidate those if possible and get one pick that's sooner than 2031 in terms of a first round pick.
Are you excited for second half of the season?
Dude, this is the third part of the season. There was the first part under Brown, there was the run under Christie, and now there's the third part without Fox. So I'm excited. This is a move that the Kings had to make. Now, arguably, did they need to make it when they did? We're not gonna have an answer to that for another 2 or 3 years. But
Right.
Yes, I am excited.
You want to see something before trade deadline, just like an addition, whether it's Valanciunas or something like Collins, Sexton, something like that. You're craving an addition to the Kings roster.
I think you have to. What if Malik Monk would have stayed down last night? Who's going to be running the point at that point? And I guess Debo can do it a little bit, but you've also got to look at that front line. You got to look at what you have expiring, and the Kings have 2 big trade exceptions, which we're going to go over here in a little bit, and they've got open roster spots. So
okay.
You're asking, PK, if you don't make another move, you are asking way too much of your 5, 6, 7 core guys who have already played massive minutes to this point in the season.
I am surprised how good Monk is. I always knew Monk was always awesome 6-man of the year contender, almost like what Crawford was with Clippers and stuff for a while. But I didn't expect him to be this good. I think he's on another level as soon as they added him to the starting rotation.
Well, and here's the thing. He's going to get a lot more attention now. So you got to figure that in too. And I'm with you. I'm excited at how he's been playing. I'm going to let you go because there's a lot of feedback on that back end.
Thank you, Ryan.
How about that? PK getting through it. Dude, I'm proud of you, PK. Good job, man. Good job. That was controlled. It was concise. It was to the point. Good job, PK. Good job. Nothing too bad there.
Winning.
All right, let's get to some of your chats, and then I'm going to get to the meat and potatoes of the important stuff that I want to hit. Furious Fox U. Fox U. Yeah. It was funny. Vassell was asked about De'Aaron being in town, and he was specifically asked about the combination of Fox and Wemby. And Vassell said, basically in a nutshell, I'm going to paraphrase, who's going to be able to stop their pick and roll? And I'm sitting there and I'm laughing inside because the answer is freaking obvious. Himself. Fox is not a pick and roll guy. If San Antonio is expecting pick and roll with those two, and I'm not going to waste my time on what San Antonio is going to do. I'm more worried about what Sacramento is going to do. It's a different day. It's a new era. But I just found that to be very, very funny. Speaking of last night, a gutsy win by this Kings team. A couple of highlights that I want to point out. Keegan Murray. How about Keegan getting it going early in the game? Really like that. 17 points in the first quarter. Also, DeMar DeRozan, he was 4 for 4 in the first quarter. And notice the ball movement. Notice how things were flowing. And yes, the Kings gave up 34 points. Now, I'm going to counter your argument about the defense to this. In the next 3 quarters, 25, 27, and 28. That is as the game went on, as they got more tired. Last game of a road trip, 6-game road trip, getaway game for that road trip. They sucked it up. Doug Christie, if you didn't know before the game, showed them film, not right before the game, but coming in to this one. He showed them film of Oklahoma City, which if I was Doug, I would have done that too, because that was not the Kings. That was the complete opposite of what Doug Christie is asking this team to do on a nightly basis with the non-negotiables. And then he showed him the Boston game. It's like, I know you can do it. This is the exact same group in the room right now that I took to Boston. That group had the best game of the season for this team. And so I felt like they met the moment. Now, Sabonis, he looked tired. I thought that showed in his three-point shooting. Monk, as the game went along, he looked tired as well. And I got to give Coach Christie a ton of credit for what he did at the end of the third quarter, nearing the end of the third quarter. Domas got 2 quick fouls in the third quarter, start of the third quarter. And you're thinking, here we go. Grant said it on the pregame show. You can't have anybody in foul trouble tonight. And happens. Here's the run. Minnesota comes within 1 point. The Kings are up 85-84. Timeout. What's Doug Christie do? He puts Domantas Sabonis back in the game. That was a feel move. That was just understanding the game as a player. He got it. He's like, I know the ramifications if he gets a fifth going into the fourth quarter, but we could very well easily lose this game right here. It won't matter what he does in the fourth quarter. And why I give him so much credit is that is exactly what happened the first time these two teams met in Sacramento. Opening night in Sacramento. The Kings had played really well up until the last 3 minutes of the third quarter. And guess what? Minnesota hits 4 triples in a row, and the game is bonkers. From there, the Kings aren't able to pull it out. But he did it there, and I loved it. Fourth quarter, the Kings gutted it out. In fact, during the fourth quarter, and I'm not saying this backwards because the Timberwolves got an offensive rebound, the Kings got 8 straight stops on 7 defensive possessions. Let me repeat that. 8 straight stops on 7 defensive possessions. Now, the Kings didn't convert every time on the other side of that, but to stop a team 8 times in a row in the fourth quarter for a team that's not a defensive team right now, a team that's in flux, that's waiting for its next piece, damn impressive to me. Here was Coach Christie after the game.
Incredible fight by a group of men that refuse to let them circumstances dictate their reality. And so super proud. Jay, does that answer your question, by the way? Okay, thank you. But all in all, a really good team in Minnesota, and to come in here at the end of a road trip with all that has transpired, I'm just super, super proud of how they presented themselves, how they continue to fight, and most of all, how they stayed together, because those are moments that build and show character, and super proud of them.
I guess two things. I'll start with DeMar. Fox was such a good closer for you. DeMar's obviously built the same way. How confident and comfortable are you putting the ball in his hands in those situations?
Super, super confident. Sometimes it'll be a post. Sometimes it'll be a side pick and roll. Tonight it was in the middle of the floor, trying to find the proper matchup and the switch. And he just has an innate ability to take his time, get a guy where he wants him, and at the right moment explode and be able to knock down a shot. And a couple of times they were contesting, and he still passed to guys, and we made plays. So coming down the stretch, we got guys that are not only capable but willing, because not everybody's willing, and they're willing to put themselves on the line. So big time game from DeMar, and Malik is he's a special one. Domas playing with 5 fouls. Keegan's ability to knock down shots. The bench was, and I told them they were great, because in many times the bench, you can scoring a lot of different things, but their support, their togetherness helped get us over the hump.
Yeah, and speaking of Malik, and then to the earlier question, how comfortable, how confident are you putting the ball in his hands, letting him take over the point guard duties? And then is this just kind of an opportunity for him to continue to show that side of his game that maybe he wasn't able to in years past?
He's had so much growth since I've met him, just period in his life and in his basketball life. Just watching him grow as a young man, I'm super, super proud of him. And then the opportunity presents itself for him to run a ball club. And like I told him, I'm gonna live with some of your mistakes, but learning how to ebb and flow inside of a game and get your teammates involved, but still be aggressive. It's a fine line. And I thought that he did a great job at it tonight. And if he continues to learn in that capacity, his game will continue to grow, which says a lot, because he has so much game. The ability to manipulate the game as far as drawing double teams. They're already blitzing him, getting off the ball with on-time, on-target passes. He knocks down shots. He gets to the basket. He knocks down free throws. He knocks down clutch free throws. He's just
Felix, Grant's face is on the channel because it's Grant's channel. I am lucky enough to host a daily show on Grant's channel. I am Grant's partner for King's Programming. So I am also part of the channel. If it's your first time, welcome. Grant is here when we do our pre-game or our post games, half times. He'll be here on Thursday when we do our weekly Kings Roundtable. We're going to push it out. Grant does his own shows on this channel as well. So that is why you are seeing me. I'm guessing you know the answer to that question, but all good. What's going on with all this Zach LaVine, Zach Ramento? Are we jumping the gun a little bit here? I'm excited for Zach LaVine. And yes, it is curious. It is curious that I've said for months, stay the heck away from LaVine. But there is a part of me. There is a big part of me that feels that same way for this simple reason. The contract. The contract scares me. This is the first time in the Monty McNair era, which might be coming to an end soon. We don't know. But this is the first time that the Kings, in my opinion, have a bad contract on the books. Now, you can make the argument the contract isn't as bad because he's played 42 games this year and he only played 25 the year before. You can make the argument he's playing at an all-star level. I agree with that. Does that soften the blow? Sure. Did he knock his trade bonus down from $9 million to $3 million? He did. Very cool. So maybe that contract's not going to be as bad as we thought. And who knows? He might fit in. Look, we're at a different point than we were in the offseason. In the offseason, we're sitting here with DeRozan. We don't know how it's going to mesh. You've got a coach that has a brand new extension, and you're thinking, all right, this team's going to win 50 games. This team is going to, for sure, get to a playoff series. Then we go through the ups and downs. We go through a firing. We go through the Fox stuff. We go through the Fox trade. And now we're at LaVine, which means I'm a little bit more open to it. At the beginning of the season, I still thought Malik Monk, because I said it throughout the summer, I thought he is a better combo with Sabonis. I thought this team needed more of a playmaker and a point guard. I said this team had too many finishers and not enough creators. So I have been on that train for a while, but never did I think that I would see a 5-man combination, not including De'Aaron Fox. I could see a 5-man combination, including Fox and Monk together, that had numbers like they did over the past 49 games, but I did not see that happening. So it makes all the sense in the world. I am willing, and it doesn't matter whether I'm willing or not. It has happened, but I am a lot more open to the LaVine Sacramento pairing, his athleticism, his shooting. I think it works if he can stay healthy. And staying healthy is good for two things. It's good because it should make the Kings better. And two, it makes him an asset on the books. Nobody else in the NBA wanted Zach LaVine. Nobody. They didn't want to touch that contract. That has started to change, or at least the Kings. Maybe one person in particular, no names mentioned, Vivek Ranadive, really thought that that could become an asset that changes things in Sacramento. I don't think that it's any secret that Vivek definitely likes Zach LaVine for a lot of reasons. Maybe not as many basketball as we think. Star appeal, played in a big city, et cetera, et cetera. So, his handprints are all over that. You have to wonder, and not that we need to get into the bigger conversation, but how does that all go down? Because you could have had LaVine for much of this season. So we can talk about all of that. We can continue talking about last night. The Kings' schedule is brutal the rest of the way. Brutal. 11th hardest schedule in the league. I guess that's not terrible. Coming home, but it does not get a lot easier. And in fact, if I'm looking at this stretch right now, it's actually not too bad. It's hard, but their homestand in March, that's murderer's row. Dallas looking much different now. Lot that we can talk about there as well. Luca being introduced, of course, Zach LaVine. A lot of you talking about Zach Ramento. Hadn't heard that coming into the show. Had not heard that. What's up, JP83? The squad is resilient. Win or lose and don't get enough credit. The chemistry was on point last night. Absolutely has rhythm and flow the entire game. It does. It's a great way to put it. Well put by you. There is a lot of rhythm. The ball moves. Everybody feels like they are part of the game. And as a basketball player, even if you've played a team sport that's more fast-paced, like basketball, you understand the differences of feeling like you're a part of it and feeling like you're just running up and down the court. It makes a difference. I know your bench didn't give you a lot points-wise last night, but what Trey Lyles gave you on defense, he was my defensive player of the game, hands down. He was rotating everywhere. He was active. He was getting to the cup. He made a three as well. So I think there's a lot to that. This, to me, was not a team. Last night proves to me, as much as anything else, that this was not a team that was shell-shocked by De'Aaron Fox being moved. And I think the 3-0 record without De'Aaron Fox should have given you a little hint that they are comfortable. They are comfortable without him. And so now comes implementing and integrating Zach LaVine into all this, which we will talk about. We're also going to talk about the Kings' financial situation as we head into the deadline. Again, just about 46 hours away from that. So get up in here. I want to hear from each and every one of you today. Let's kick it back off with GP. What's up, GP?
Hey, Rhino, how you doing?
Good, man. You're not in the car. I'm shocked.
No, man. Hey, I have to have some time off too, right?
Yeah, it's true. Got to have some balance.
Yeah, for sure. Just checking in, man. Excited for this new offensive firepower that we're gonna have. I feel like I agree with you. We do have to make one more move, and I say like we help Sabonis out and get a mobile big or a stretch big, that can also rebound, because we do lack in rebounding, as you can tell throughout this a streak that we've been on, kind of, or stretch of road trip that we had. Well, yep. we did lack rebounding. So if we can address that, man, obviously the big should help defensively. I think guard wise we can maybe make do. Obviously we might have to call up somebody from the G League, but I don't know if it's going to be Kobe Jones, but I like there are very good guards in the G League, and I will throw out a Sacramento, I'm sure a fan favorite, Isaiah Thomas. Just checked back in, and that guy's a baller, somebody off the bench and can handle the rock and has been here. And I know he's trying to get a contract, somewhere. So
I thought he retired.
No,
he retired.
He just checked back in, and first game he drops 40.
Okay.
So if you want to check, but I'm just throwing that name out there, but I would love somebody, low key, somebody who can score, obviously, and handle the rock, and then obviously get Sabonis some help, with rebounding. And then the last game I wanted to talk about, Keegan Murray, man.
Yeah.
I want him to be aggressive just like that, and he's got to keep it, sustained somehow throughout the second half as well. But if that guy can be aggressive and rebound like that, I think he's the key to this. Obviously if we don't get too much help, but I feel like if this guy can have a turnaround second half of the season, and obviously adding Zach LaVine in there, that will get the guys maybe more touches, I'm thinking, because if one guy gets hot, that's what I'm thinking, it's gonna spiral down. And Keegan's a shooter that, like, he sees one go in, and then the floodgates should open. So I'm just hoping we get our offense, but as well as we handle the defensive part, somehow address that. Who do you think if the Lakers don't pick up, Valanciunas, I would love for him to be, partnered up with Sabonis there. Who do you like right now?
I mean, for what's available in the price, I don't have a big problem with Valanciunas. We can go over the list of a lot of the guys that are looking to move. I worry about the pace a little bit with Valanciunas, at which the Kings want to play at, how that works. Because Alex Len, whether you think he's good or not, he can play at that pace with the Kings when they're flowing. And
he's just got to play with more confidence. I think he's too timid. Sometimes I think he doesn't think he's quick enough to get to the ball, but I feel like if he just kind of moves his feet like quicker and he doesn't think too much, and I think he can be good, Alex Len. But I feel like we do need somebody with more of an offensive game.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That's what I was saying. I was just comparing their ability to get up and down the court. I think Alex Lenz is a little bit better than Valanciunas is, but offensively and even defensively to a degree, because how much space Valanciunas takes up, probably gets the nod there. So you got to find something in the middle, but you make some good points about Keegan. He cannot fade away. I think Keegan has to be involved from this point forward. Not saying you give Keegan 30 shots a night, but what I am saying is you can't just let him have 3 shots a half. You've got to get him more involved.
Yeah, I want to see him go off of those dribble handoffs sometimes with Sabonis, or if not even that, set the side pick like they usually do, where they will play the pick and roll, but he's on the wing there. I like that, because I feel like he's comfortable with that shot, and then he can create off of that or attack the rim. As long as he's attacking the rim, and rebounding there. As far as the stretch coming up, man, I know you were looking at the schedule coming up. I feel like we could get on the road, man, and get on another winning streak, and so that's what I'm looking forward to. With adding Zach LaVine, if these guys could get some defensive help or just play better defense like they did last night, man. Swarm, be known for something like that under Doug, like a swarming defense, or like a defense that switches it up on you. When you play zone, you're active, and you get those deflections. Because I know, what's his name, Ellis is really good at those. Being in the starting lineup, he should help. Even if he is coming off the bench. He's a key to it as well.
If the Kings play with the effort that they did defensively last night, they're gonna do enough, or they're gonna be able to do enough most nights to be in the game defensively. Yeah. It's not gonna be as bad as we think. But hey, GP, appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Let's get on like a 7-game winning streak, man. 7-8 game winning streak. I'm trying to be optimistic. But
I hear you, man.
Somebody and get this thing rolling. But the beam, excited for Zach LaVine, man.
Cool.
All right, brother.
Appreciate you. Good job, GP. Guess what? That is a PK call, and not that GP's that guy, but we are through 2 calls, and we have not had any issues.
Great success.
Love it. Furious, to answer your question, it's quite simple, actually. I went back and watched the game. The Timberwolves adjusted to what Keegan was getting open looks on, and really what that was is they adjusted on the pick and roll, and they adjusted where they were picking the Kings up. They weren't picking them up as high in the first quarter. In the second quarter, they started picking them up a little bit closer to half court, in some cases 3/4 court, and it changed some of the looks that Keegan was getting. Now, in a perfect world, that is where I would like to see Doug Christie come back and readjust to what the Timberwolves are doing. I'm not saying that coach didn't adjust last night, but when I've got Keegan Murray, who has scored 17 points in the first quarter, I still want the ball. I'm doing stuff to try to get the ball in his hands. I don't believe he shot again or scored again until the second half. I want to say into the third quarter. Let's go back to the phones. Dirk, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. A heck of a game last night. That's for sure.
It was indeed.
Hey, so some comments. I know it's been noted that Zach LaVine has played in 42 games. 3 of those were dismissed due to his child being born. So he's as durable as Fox has been this year, basically.
Wow.
Math's out.
That's good info.
So that's a promising sign.
I like it.
Yeah, I share the sentiments of the last caller. Like, aggressive Keegan was awesome in the first quarter. It looks like that might have been a plan. It would be nice if Keegan could display that aggressiveness in other quarters as well. I'm not sure what exactly prevents that from happening, but any theories on your part?
I think the ball, I think there's 2 theories. Well, one thing that we can't ignore is he's missed a lot of wide open shots. But we saw guys pass up wide open shots last night for worse shots. And I feel like Keegan sometimes is the beneficiary of some of those grenades late in the shot clock where he's got to shoot it. Also, I just think they're not doing enough to get him involved. I think the ball would stop sometimes with Fox, and sometimes Monk to a degree. He would take those shots as well. I just think you're seeing these guys. In fact, last night they had 3 turnovers in the first half. All 3 were due to shot clock violations where you could hear Malik audibly yell, "Gotta shoot that." And I think those are the plays Keegan ends up on the back end of at times.
Yeah, I think just some experience of having the grenade late, just being cognizant of the shot clock at all times. So little mistakes. I mean, he's not a rookie anymore, but he's not been put in that position. So I'm okay with those situations. It's just his defense is phenomenal, but just to disappear offensively, we got to figure out how to get him more involved. But how do you think Monk looked given all that pressure that he had last game? Do you think Minnesota is probably on the higher end of the size and defense that would give him problems?
Yes, I do. And I also think that he was freaking gassed. By the second half, he was running on fumes. Shots were short. He was able to fight through it. But overall, I thought to start the game, he looked good. You could hear him. He's clearly the audible leader of that team. He was getting everybody involved defensively. I thought he was fine. How about you?
I share the same sentiment, really. I mean, he looked a little like he was getting a lot of pressure on him. He didn't have maybe the speed to turn the corner on them at times, but still performed, still wasn't turning the ball over like you might expect from all that pressure. So thought he did admirably. So my current looking forward, I can't wait till Zach is on the team because you could see the need for Zach to share some of those job responsibilities Malik had with, even if it's just, going ISO, that could be effective here. But I'm real curious about how this trade exceptions apply to us. So as I understand it, it allows the Kings to take on more salary when we do a trade. So theoretically, if we're going to take in $16.7 million, theoretically, could we trade Trey Lyles for somebody and their 2 salaries are essentially like we can still take on a $16 million salary, even though we're trading out what is Trey's $8 million.
So I want to say, as I understand it, because the Kings at every team have somebody they run it through and then they run it through the league before they agree to a trade to make sure that it works. But yes, like for instance, John Collins, what's he making this year? He's making 26.5. Ooh, doesn't that line up just about right? Trey's making $8 million. So you would be able to send Trey as an asset and use the rest of the exception to make up the difference in the salary.
Right on. And considering like this first rounder from Charlotte, aka 2 second-round picks, is that enough to go out and then bring in $16 million would be my question. Or the 13.8 million other exception that we have.
Yeah, it's a good question. Are you saying?
I understand you're not an expert on it, but I'm just.
Yeah, are you saying like to fill out the roster? Or are you talking about like having enough picks on the back end in the next couple of years? What angle are you at?
Well, so John Collins went for a second-round pick to get to Utah, and his stats look better than normal, right? But
right.
Danny Ainge being the type of guy that needs to get an advantage at all times, I'm wondering if 2 second-round picks would be enough to get him off of that team, because we still need depth, and trading one player to get one player, unless they're a totally unproductive player, is not going to result in what I would define as greater depth.
Yes, I think 100%. I think you can get John Collins for, if they like Trey Lyles, which I think he fits a similar role of John Collins. Probably not going to be as good around the rim as JC, but you got Trey on an expiring deal, which Danny will like because they're still rebuilding. I think 2 second-round picks could probably get it done. Cool. I think it probably could.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen any footage of Saidi. I guess that's his name, the other guy we picked up.
Yeah, there's not a lot. You got to go back and watch some of the G League. Have you caught anything?
Just some videos of things that you don't see on this Kings team, which would be someone slashing, getting the ball and dunking it.
That's a good point.
And to see that skill when it's absent, that could be valuable to this team. Honestly, I'm not sure if he's 6'5" or 6'8", but I know he has a really good wingspan. Do you know how tall he is?
He has a 6'9" wingspan. I think he is 6'6". Is he 6? I'll look it up again. I don't know.
All right. Well, it sounds like potential wing depth. I mean, maybe not this year. He's going to produce for you, but with a small amount of upside because he wasn't playing games. There's got to be some reason for that.
I don't know that you ever really see him in a Kings jersey much more than you saw McDaniels in a Kings jersey. He's just I don't see how he fits. I think that in the G League he's had success because it's not as physical. I think that slashing in the NBA is much, much different. But who knows? Maybe you got to give him a shot. That's why you roll him out there.
Well, I was hoping there'd be more potential upside in any of the trades. If Sidey doesn't have any upside, it makes the trade look a little weaker from our perspective. So Monty really needs to make something else happen with these picks.
100%.
If he wants to keep his job. So
100%.
By the way, I got for you.
Appreciate you. On the screen, I have up what the Athletic did with their draft, their trade deadline index. Contract value 26.9, best fits. Kings are on there. Second rounders and salary matching. That's what the Athletic thinks. But Dirk, I completely agree with him when he says that Danny Ainge is always going to want the deal. So I think if you liked Collins enough. Now, here's the other side of Collins that we need to remember. There are reports out there that there was a deal already in place at the beginning of the season, before the season started, for John Collins. And it was vetoed by Mike Brown because he didn't like John Collins' basketball IQ. Take it for what it's worth. It is nothing I have personally heard. I am not reporting that. I am repeating a report that has circulated around. So sometimes once you start hearing these things out of the front office, especially the Sacramento side of the front office, sometimes these things are long gone and done, and we've moved on from it. But I still think Collins is a piece that could help the Kings. I do, but you got to look at the money too. 26.6. Now that you have LaVine. Like, when we were thinking about this Fox trade, I was thinking about it in different circumstances. I was not thinking that the Kings were going to be getting one player with the salary of LaVine's back. I did not. I thought you would be getting a couple of players, i.e. a Steph Castle, i.e. Keldon Johnson and Steph Castle. So the fact that the Kings are taking on, I go back to that. I'm excited for LaVine, but you are not in much of a different place than what you would have been re-signing Fox. Remember that. You have the same amount of money, if not more money, going out and the same amount of roster spots to fill. So what's Monty and the group going to do? Now, is this Kings team better with LaVine? Very well could be. Very well could be. As for some of the Keegan talk, I think one thing, and this also extends to Zach LaVine, that I am very much looking forward to seeing is what the Kings can do with the pick and roll with guards and forwards. We've seen Monk and we've seen Sabonis do it beautifully. But is there room? We've seen in the past when Foxy was here, a Fox and DeRozan pick and roll. Are we going to see any chemistry with a LaVine Murray? Can Doug Christie draw up some different ways to get creative with some of the other guys who I strongly feel need to be involved? Now, you're not going to do a pick and roll with Keon Ellis too much. He's there mostly for the catch and shoot offensively, and then defense, what he gives you. But with a Keegan Murray and also a Zach LaVine, what's that look like? Also, is there any high-low action, Keegan Murray, Demonis, that can be done. There's a lot to look at now. Things change because Zach LaVine is such a drastically different player than De'Aaron Fox, and we'll be getting our first sample of him coming up reportedly tomorrow, expected to play for the Kings. A lot of shows still left to go. First, let's welcome in Corn Dog. Corn Dog, what's up, dude?
Man. I mean, this was a good showing against Minnesota last night for the most part. Played as a team. You know, I said this last night. You know, we got Trey Lyles going. Keegan cooled off, but we got enough from him. DeMar DeRozan played solid. We had got from him and Monk. And I think this team had enough scoring with or without Fox. And I think with LaVine, it's going to be almost the same. Like I said this again last night about how it's almost going to be probably the same position where we finish. It's just we're going to have more picks in the back end. And yeah, you have to do something with the picks, but you know what? You don't have you can't win the lottery without having a lottery ticket.
Yeah, but the picks don't mean anything to me. Like this year with Charlotte, it's 2 second-round picks. Like,
yeah, Charlotte losing to the Wizards was not a good thing.
I mean, that's my problem with it. You know, like Bobby Marks, and he did this when he was in the front office. For those that don't know who Bobby Marks is, he's an ESPN analyst now, but front office analyst, but he was the GM of the, I believe it was the Nets when they were trading Carmelo to the Knicks. And I think the Kings let the Spurs off the hook way too easy here. The Spurs had a 2025 and a 2027 from Atlanta, 2 first-round picks, and the Kings didn't get either of those. They didn't get any of the young guys. Second-round picks are good, but they're not your Jalen Wellses, those types of guys, your Pajemskis, your Trace Jackson Davises. It's just not, they're few and far in between. And the Kings, unfortunately, with their payroll now, you need bodies, you need players. And do you have faith in second round picks?
I mean, honestly, maybe. I mean, we picked Halliburton, we picked Fox, we picked Keegan,
but they're all first round picks.
We got some first rounders.
Well, no, so the first round pick is protected. The Charlotte one.
One's protected, but I know for sure we got the 2031 one.
Right, and this team's I don't care about 2031. Sabonis is only under contract till 27, 28. You know, we very well may be in rebuild mode by then.
Hey, having extra picks in a rebuild. I guess, you know, it depends how much you care about the now versus I'm kind of a both kind of person because I don't want to be like, I'm fine with us being competitive, at least, you know, somewhat playoff, like spot relevant while having the picks than just being where we were playoff relevant without any future picks. Cause really, like if we didn't have any picks going forward and Fox just left us high and dry, which was a very strong possibility. And again, they were going to cost a lot of money to keep regardless. And honestly, I'm very happy to get off the Schröder deal because Schröder, he just was not, after the first Beam year, he just was not it. I don't know I don't know what food he'd been eating. I don't know I don't know what he's been drinking. Just something was off about him after that year.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and defend him because he missed a lot of shots, but I'm also going to grade it on a curve because the team started playing the dribble handoff so much differently.
True.
And that was his look. That was the play that he was scoring all his points on, and the Kings did not adjust to it for like a year. So I think then mentally that starts to mess with you when you're a shooter. And then he gets hurt. And
shooting is very rhythm based. So
for sure.
I agree.
Very well put, dude. Yeah, Peter, you nailed it, dude. That's why I put it up. I am completely dismissing that Schröder was part of that. So good job by you, Peter.
Yeah, like if it was just Fox and we still kept Schröder, then yeah, I would totally be like fail. But sometimes you got to give a lot just to get off of a bad deal. And currently, I thought Schröder was a bad deal, and if Fox was going to jump ship anyways, I'm fine to get just even 2 years of LaVine if he doesn't take that player option, and then whatever picks we get. I mean, it wasn't the greatest haul, but we at least start looking like the Dallas Mavericks right now.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. They are making some bold moves. They made another move today, a win now move. Like, if you're Dallas, you better win a championship in the next year or two. And I don't, Jerry Reynolds and I, we talked about this at the end of last season. We're like, is the NBA swinging back towards more of a too big look? And him and I were a little bit encouraged that it might be. That's what Dallas did at the trade deadline last year. It works. It gets them to the finals. Obviously, Luca was a massive part of that, but they're going all in on that now. They are going.
Caleb Martin's going there.
Yes, they are going all in on the two bigs, and they're bringing in the 3-and-D. Dallas fan. It was a really interesting conversation because Brian Scalabrine was talking about it this morning. And the discussion was, is Dallas fan even going to be satisfied with a championship? It has to be probably multiple championships. And there's some Dallas fans that would rather have Luca back than no championship.
I mean, honestly, though, if Luca wins 2 championships with the Lakers, then if you win one and Luca wins 2 with the Lakers, then it's still a fail in Dallas's fans' mind, because we're starting Luca's prime. Like, it's not like he's 32 and washed up. Like this is this is like the time where Luca is hot on the iron. Like, first you draft him, he's a nice cut of meat. You start seasoning him for those first couple of years.
Hold on.
It is hot. Like like this thing is cooking. And you just toss it away,
dude. Are you going cooking references?
Yeah.
Come here.
I mean,
get out.
You spent all that time getting a nice cut of meat. You seasoned it up. You put the oil, and then you just toss the meat out for a different cut that is over meat, an over piece of meat.
What is that?
Corn dog, you're the best, man. It's a good analogy. I appreciate it. But That's good. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you. I'm going to talk more about Luca in that situation here in a second. But yeah, you're right, man. You are right. All right, brother. Be well.
Yep, I'll be here.
Holy crap, man. We're talking about cooking references.
What is that?
The great Gordon Ramsay. Appreciate the kind words, by the way. Where was that? Always appreciated. Rhino is consistent AF. Appreciate it, man. I try to grind the same, bring the same energy, bring the same content, but I can't bring all of you. You're just as important of a part to this formula. So thank you for that. Let's go to Keon Ellis talking after the game last night.
And pull out this win tonight.
It feels good. Definitely always good to get a win. But especially on the road trip, long road trip, last game, everybody can easily just pack it in and try to get to the crib. But good win, way to go out there, fight, play together, and stay with it. Calls weren't going our way. So just way to fight.
What did that take? I mean, what did you guys have to do to pull this one out?
Just get back to the basics. I mean, just go out there, play hard, fight for one another, and just play as a team. Make the easy plays, and just to try to hit singles and win the game play by play. So I think that was it.
What was just kind of the reaction in the locker room when you guys found out about De'Aaron, and then also Zach too? What do you know about him? What are you excited to see from him?
Well, when the news came out, I think everybody was doing their own thing. But I mean, this morning we kind of came in and as a team, we just say, it's basketball. That's the business of it, the business side. So, but they're not going to come out and feel sorry for us or anything. They just lost their last game. They don't really care what we have going on. So they're trying to come out and win. And we're trying to keep it going forward too. So, tough to lose someone like that. And what he's done for our team, but kind of like the NBA, it's just on to the next. And as far as Zach, great player. I think he'll be a great addition to our team. So definitely excited to have him on our team and, just try to get him acclimated.
So that was Keon after the game last night. Many of you are also excited to get Zach here and acclimated. Okay, really quick. There's not a lot to recap and recycle here. You've all heard pretty much every take by now about Luca. Well, Dallas, was having issues with him. He's not staying in shape. He's getting hurt. You're having to put things on the injury report that are partially true, and you give him longer breaks so he can lose weight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Bottom line is, dude ends up in Los Angeles. Los Angeles now has a succession plan for LeBron. Luca did have a funny little line today. He was very brief in his press conference, partially because English is not his first language, but he was asked about JJ Redick because they played together for a short period in Dallas. And he's like, oh, he couldn't move back then. So I thought that was funny. Luca was being playful. Definitely Luca was hurt by all this. And this is a business as much as it is a sport, maybe more than a business than a sport. But the bottom line is Los Angeles made out like bandits. Now, if there's a team and a guy that can get Luca to change, you got to think it's going to be LeBron. Now, LeBron doesn't have a ton of time left on the end of his career, but he could certainly try to set the young man up for success. I feel for Luca in this sense, and it's not as much about the $100 million, although that's life-changing generational wealth. He was all in on Dallas in his own way. We can debate whether or not what the definition of all in was what it should be for an NBA player of his caliber, although he was still putting up ridiculous numbers. 5 All-NBAs, MVP, NBA Finals, Western Conference Player of the Series or MVP. Bottom line is, this dude's putting up numbers at an alarming rate, and he's operating at what, 60, 70% maybe of potential? So if the Lakers can pull it out of him, they can pull it out of him. Now, on the other side of this, which I find very interesting, is how this all went down. How could it go down without anybody knowing? Yes, we were all surprised. Yes, we all thought Shams got hacked, but I'm going to ask you the opposite question. How could this happen if everybody knew? There's no way it could have happened this way if everybody knew. And let me know, or let me tell you why. Because players control the narrative. Players control the narrative in the NBA today. Look at what we just went through in Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox has a preferred destination. Rich Paul controlled the entire narrative, although De'Aaron Fox never requested a trade. Grant and I disagree on that. Grant thinks it could be different. Not that he has heard anything directly, but we have separate opinions on that. I truly believe from the people that I have talked to and the feels that I have gotten from people I trust that are plugged into the NBA and plugged into the Kings made the decision to pull the trigger quickly. Now, could they have waited? Absolutely. But back to Luca. If Luca's on the market, it becomes a frenzy for Dallas. And not only does it become a frenzy, because most likely every single team in the NBA is going to be looking for his services, regardless of his commitment to his health, regardless of his injury issues, regardless of his on the court antics, constantly arguing with referees, regardless of his bad defense. Every team would have been coming after him. And not to mention, the Dallas fan base would have rioted. Hell, the Dallas fan base is rioting right now in its own way. You have fans bringing coffins to the arena for Luca. I feel for that fan base. They love that dude. And you know what? By all accounts, Luca loved that city. There is one word, or there's a word that is on the Dirk Nowitzki statue that is in Dallas, and it's loyalty. And loyalty was one of the few words that Luca said today in his press conference, whether it was a shot towards Dallas or whether this maybe changes him. This is an eye-opener for every player in the NBA. And they haven't hit it. Anthony Edwards. It's like, hell, maybe I could get traded. You have guys asking their GMs to give him a heads up. If Luca can be traded with no notice to him or his agent, that means anybody can be. Steph Curry included, Kevin Durant included, anybody without a no trade clause. But you kind of have to give Dallas a lot of credit here. Dallas did what they felt is best for their basketball team long term. They might be right. There's a very good possibility they might be wrong, but at least they made a decision and stuck with it and did not hesitate. And again, I go back to, if this hits the media, if this hits Luca's team, the circus that it becomes the biggest thing, maybe one of the biggest trades in the history of the NBA, the biggest really free agency period, offseason in the history of the NBA. And there's no way Dallas could have operated its business and its basketball team and navigated that between the pressure of the public and the pressure from Luca and his agent about whether wanting to stay or going to a certain destination. So it is what it is, Dallas fan. Again, I feel for you, but I get it. I get it. I totally get it. Tough situation if you're a Dallas fan, and tough situation if you are the Dallas GM. And clearly, yeah, good job by you right there, JP83. It is Malik's birthday. It is Malik's birthday today. Happy birthday, Malik. Clearly, they've got a plan because they continue to execute on it. Like, can you remember a casket ever showing up to a building? And we've seen some pretty crazy trades. Now, we can argue the merits of the trade. Did they get enough? Absolutely not. But it was the only way it could be done. And they had a plan. That's what you also have to respect. Dallas wanted AD. They wanted AD for better or worse. Insanity. Kazi, what's up today?
Yo, okay. This whole Luca Dončić AD trade, this is literally like if I was a young player in the NBA or any player, other than maybe if you're like old, but I would demand a no trade clause in every single deal. I am not messing around. I'm saying I'd be like, look what just happened to Luca. I'm not allowing that to happen to me. I am demanding no trade clause or I'm not signing with you guys. Am I crazy for thinking that? Or, I mean, like if Anthony Edwards, like an upcoming superstar in this league, if I was him looking at my next deal, I'd be demanding that shit.
I don't disagree with you, Kazi, but was this the balance that we needed back? Because the players have had all of the control for a minute. This kind of shocked the system.
I mean, the thing is like, I know like Grant for the last 3-4 years has kind of like said like, oh, the NBA has definitely changed under Davis or Adam Silver. Things of like, he like used a woke term and whatever, all that crap. And I mean, I will say, yeah, this league has become a little softer since Adam Silver took over. I don't think Adam Silver's been a great commissioner as well. But like I just like you had mentioned this the other night. What if David Stern vetoed this trade? And I think he would have. And same thing with Kevin Durant back in 2017. I think he would have vetoed that too.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. It's best for the Lakers. Is it best for business? I don't know. It's crazy. It's insane.
Do you think Luca can actually play with LeBron, or do you think that's going to be
This is a long-term play. This is the succession to LeBron. I mean, they might be able. The first thing is he's got to be available and on the court. He's played 22 games this season. He's going to be doing some 5-on-5s tomorrow, and then he's going to be day-to-day. They are saying they kind of have Indiana circled as maybe his first game. But short-term, no. I don't think the Lakers are going to be significantly better. In fact, I think the Lakers might be a little bit worse. But long-term, yeah, it's going to help if Luca changes. And
especially in the backcourt, they're going to be awful defensively.
Don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. So crazy stuff. You know what? I am interested because you bring up a good point. I wonder how many guys, and trust me, like Colby Jones ain't going to his agent and saying, get me a no trade clause. But I wonder how many of the top tier NBA
That's what
players,
I'm saying. Like, I would say, like, mid-level players, like, I'm just trying to think of one. Trey Lyles. I don't think people like players like Trey Lyles, Kevin Huerter are going to demand trade clauses.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, appreciate the call, Kazi.
Thank you.
Yep, good job by Kazi. The casket wasn't big enough. Damn, Luca, my man. What? You guys didn't want to hit any Golden Corral smack? Dallas is doing Luca a favor. Out of every state in this great nation, Texas, believe it or not, has the most Golden Corral locations. 55 in all. 55 Golden Corrals. Luca is going to go from juicy jumbo shrimp to juicine. He's going to go from biscuits to beets. Can he get on the LA trip? Here's the other thing, by the way, that I found very unique about this, because this has been a low key, and there's some really good stuff going on in the chat. We're going to get to it in a second. This is another very unique aspect of what's happening with this whole player movement in the NBA. It is these guys having their own medical teams. It's these guys having their own trainers. And sometimes their medical team, their trainers, their programs conflict with what the team wants a player to do when it comes to diet, when it comes to strength and conditioning, when it comes to treating injuries. And it's becoming a bigger and bigger battle behind the scenes, a silent battle that not a lot of people are reporting on. And during the introductory press conference today, not only did Rob Pelinka welcome Luca and his team to the Lakers family, he welcomed Luca's trainer, his physician. He acknowledged the Lakers doctor. And he said they would all be working and collaborating together now. He welcomed them to the team. That is bonkers to hear during an NBA press conference, especially introducing a player. Now, if you're going to hear it, it's going to be of a player of Luca's caliber and status, but crazy. There's just a lot of precedents that might be set from all this. So we're going to keep talking about it here in a few minutes. What I do want to do first is play my man Bobby Marks, who has been all over the Kings situation as of late. By the way, I am efforting Bobby Marks for this show. We're hoping to get him on to talk about the Kings. If you don't remember what Bobby said before the Fox trade, we talked about it. I'm going to play it for you really quick. And I still kind of agree with him, even though it's a moot point and we've moved on. Here's Bobby before the trade.
At it big picture wise, the value of Fox, and I might be wrong, increases more when we get into June, when teams are willing to give up more because you've lost in the first round. You think you're better than who you are. We see it. History comes with it. But then it comes with back to what we started with. Then you have the risk of you have basically a player on a 1-year contract, and you basically have to convince that player that we have a good team, or you're going to have to flip him again. From Sacramento's perspective, listen, we could do a whole probably 30 for 30 series on Sacramento in general here. You're trying to salvage how this roster can remain competitive. Yes, draft equity is important, but you're trying to do a soft retool as far as what you have, as far as whether it be Keldon Johnson and Trey Jones and Sohan. I mean, listen, we can go through a lot of different players, but if you're Sacramento, you're saying no Castle, no deal. We'll take less picks, but I want Castle, I want Keldon Johnson, and I'll take maybe 2 picks.
So that was Bobby Marks before the deal. Here was Bobby after the deal.
Sacramento, you're thinking, all right, let's get ahead of this here right now. And that's what they did with this trade. What are you going to do with those draft picks? What's your next move? Who's your point guard? Is it Malik Monk? Are you going to run Monk, LaVine, DeRozan, Sabonis, and Keegan Murray? Okay. You still have some things you need to go out and fix. But all in all, I thought you did a pretty good job. LaVine adjusted his trade bonus. He had a $9+ million trade bonus. He reduced it down to 3. His cap hit, you add $1.5 million each year, 44.5, 47.5. He's got a player option in the 3rd year that remains unchanged. Extension eligible this I believe this offseason here that we'll write about that down the road here, but extension eligible here. All in all, City Sadosco, 1.9 million. He was part of the deal coming from San Antonio. Got some roster spots available. So all in all, I thought you did. I thought, considering the circumstances, you did a good job.
Wow, he gave us a good job. Remember, Bobby does not give grades out. He thinks grades are lame. Don't disagree with him there. Here's Bobby one more time.
I would have loved to just say, you know what, we're going to leverage the crap out of De'Aaron Fox, and we're going to make San Antonio basically up the ante as far as what we want to do. And I get it. I'm not there, but I went through it in New Jersey with Darren Williams, and we basically leveraged the hell out of the Knicks to make them basically give everything for Carmelo Anthony. And I would have said also, hey, we're not going to trade you. And if we do, it's going to be in the summer, but this is going to be what our asking point is. And it feels like basically, certainly Sacramento said, you know what, we need to get this resolved, and let's do our best to get what we can. And you certainly get Zach LaVine in the 2 first, 5 seconds as part of the trade. I get it. I'm not giving grades, but I understand why.
So that was Bobby's reaction and the other side of the trade, what the Kings possibly could have done. And here's the wild card that I've talked about for the last couple weeks. It is the CBA. We have no idea what this CBA is going to bring in terms of values at this deadline. I think that is what the Kings, to a degree, and I have no verification, I have not talked to anybody about this, but I am fairly certain off of my gut and my read on this Monty McNair front office that they wanted to see a domino fall. They didn't want to be the first domino. When you saw that Luca only brought Anthony Davis, and I don't know all of the specifics off the top of my head, but basically a superstar 4, and when Anthony Davis is on the floor, He is a superstar. He's had a great season this year. Now, completely different points in their career. So you could argue, is that really fair value? But more or less, it was a superstar for a superstar. So who knows if that affected the Kings thinking, you know what? If we can get a star, an all-star in Zach LaVine and all these picks, we might as well do it now. Now, the big thing, and nobody knows. If you think you know right now, you're wrong. Nobody knows if this is going to be a good trade or not yet. We are not going to know that. We won't know it after the deadline. We will not know it for another year or two. But we will wait and see. And I strongly am still in the camp that another move is coming. I feel like another move has to come when you look at this roster. I don't foreseeably see the group you saw last night. Trey Lyles, Keon Ellis. We'll talk about Devin Carter in a second. Man, Devin has got to slow down. Something's going on with Devin Carter. Now, I don't mean physically. I don't think anything's wrong with him in that sense. But it just looks like, eyeball test alone, he is forcing things. And if I'm a team and I am watching his film, I am going to pressure the hell out of Devin Carter. And the T-Wolves did that a little bit last night. If the ball's going to be in his hands, he's going to be your backup point guard. But back to my point, I don't see how this Kings team can get through the end of the season and have a high level of success needing to play these 7 guys massive minutes when you already have a lot of tread on DeMar DeRozan. Zach LaVine, throw him into the conversation. Zach LaVine's probably going to have to play more than 34.1 minutes a game, which he's averaging over his 42 games this year. So that's why I say another move has to be coming. Now, as part of this whole Luca trade and this shock to the NBA system and this trade deadline in the CBA, player reaction has been coming in across the league. We've already hit on some of it. This is one of the worst takes, and I'm not going to spend very long on it. I'm not going to sit here and open up a can of worms, and I hope all of you can be very respectful and responsible. I trust you enough to bring this up. So if you're a knucklehead, I will get you out of here in a New York second. But one of the worst takes that I have seen from this has come from Dennis Schröder, who is now compared the practice of trading players to modern slavery. That's not made up. That's not AI'd. That's not tweaked. That is not fake news. Quote, it's like modern slavery. It's modern slavery at the end of the day. Everybody can decide where you're going. Even if you have a contract. Yeah, of course, we make a lot of money. And we feed our families. Yeah, I know, it's kind of a weird one. New York second. I don't know why I said that. Maybe because Grant's from New York. Yeah. I don't even know what a New York second is. Yeah, go ahead, Little John. Hit me.
What?
I know. That wasn't very good. I actually don't even need to justify why I'm not going to give. No take is the best take. We just understand. You just understand how bad that is. That is real. Awful. The hell do you think Golden State's PR department's doing? And isn't this Black History Month in the NBA too? Adam Silver, Steve Kerr, y'all got a problem on your hands on multiple levels. I'm not even talking about some of the comparisons. That's a problem. That is a major freaking problem. It's disgusting. It's horrible. I don't care if you are purple. I don't care if you are green. I don't care if you are every color in the crayon box. Garbage, awful, tone deaf, idiotic thing to say.
That don't make no sense.
Disrespectful, stomach turning, wild. So yes, that is on the other side of the spectrum now. Terrible stuff there. Back to the Kings and back to what we care about. This team, this new look team, Zach LaVine, gonna be thrown into the mix. Look, I don't care how salty you are. Like I said, I don't need to explain it. He knew the second, I hope he knew the second he said it, by saying, oh, well, I know we make millions of dollars. Unbelievably disrespectful. The Matt Man, what an absolutely stupid take on an NBA as a player. That's worse than PK saying the badly timed joke about the plane crashing. It's a million times worse. It's worse than Haunted Horrors.
Let's go see a porno.
Saying that. It's worse than Jerry Jones.
There's a pony in here somewhere, is the old adage with the boy scooping up the manure on Christmas Day.
I mean, I'm trying to think, is there a worse take that I have ever seen? Ever. Donald, you have to accept the nature of the business. It's business, unless you don't believe in business and ownership. My man, you signed your name to the dotted line. You know who didn't sign their name to the dotted line? All the people you are comparing yourself to. End of story. End of take. Awful. Awful. So, we move on. Let's go to the phones. Alex, what's up?
What's going on, Rhino? How you doing?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Just here at work and very slow right now, so I'm enjoying a little relaxation time. I popped into the show. I don't know if you saw or heard, but they're actually having a press conference tomorrow with LaVine and Monty McNair. One at 9:30 and the other one at 12. So I guess that's cool. They're finally going to have a live press conference.
I know, it's shocking, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I'm looking forward to that. I didn't hear about the Schröder stuff, and there is no reason to talk about it. But that's just very ignorant on his part. That's there's no need else to talk about it. You know what I mean? That's just It's crazy. I couldn't even believe when I heard you saying it. I'm like, wow, that if that's real, that's nuts. But apparently it is, and yeah, just very ignorant.
Terrible take. It just it's a PR nightmare for the NBA. And beyond that, it's so off. It's just bad. Yeah. I don't want to spend too much more time on it, but I'm not going to run away from that stuff either. You know, I'm going to put it.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And I didn't want to either. And that's why, to sum it up, just ignorance, basically. And even with the Fox, so to transition to the Fox stuff, I know that's been talked up the butt for the past week or whatever. Every talk show, every show, it's always about Fox. And I was definitely one of the guys, that didn't want to get rid of him. But I also am a huge fan of LaVine, and I have been for years. Even during the summer when I forgot, I don't remember the catchphrase verbatim, but it was "Stay the hell away from LaVine," right? Something like that.
Yeah, that didn't age too well, now didn't it?
Yeah. And I was very quiet during that time. So, man, I like LaVine. I understand his contract isn't good based off last year him only playing 20 plus games. This year it doesn't look too bad though, just because of how much he's playing, how good he's doing. And again, it's just 1 year. In last year is completely different. So I still get it. Even being a big fan of his as I am, I understand why last year nobody wanted to touch him. This year it does seem like he was getting, interest from a lot of teams, even the Warriors especially. When I pop in over there, they were constantly talking about LaVine and very mad when they didn't get him. I'm not sure if you keep up with their network at all, but they were very, very high on him and trying to get him as well.
Interesting. They've got their hands in a lot of pots. They have no idea what to do. It's actually a really fascinating situation because Steph Curry wants to be there, but really the best thing is to get Steph out of there. It's so, I guess I was talking, well, I shouldn't say I guess, I was talking to Damon Bruce about this a couple of weeks ago on the show.
Yeah.
And it's almost as important how they handle this situation with Curry as what they do with the basketball team for the next 3 or 4 years. Because the fans are going to be just as loyal to Curry as they are the product on the court. He's that popular. He means that much to the Warriors. Kind of like what you're seeing with Luca fans now, to a degree. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. They've got to do something drastic if they want to be competitive.
Well, I even saw yesterday, there were some reports saying Warriors are desperate to land an all-star and, trying to get into every pot they can to grab somebody. And like you said, Curry's their guy and all of that good stuff. But I understand this is a Kings podcast, not Warriors. I just like, checking everything out. Just because it's of interest. But yeah, I am looking forward to LaVine. I do think it will work well here, just because even when we played LaVine these past 2 games or the last game, he just torched us, and he has that almost alpha factor that Fox didn't. Maybe I think Fox did have, but it just took a lot for him to do it. It took him getting mad, or it took just things of that nature. Where LaVine, he wanted that ball, and he's just very confident and just has a very alpha tendency to him. Again, I'm kind of worried with him and DeRozan again, because DeRozan, a lot of times, he was efficient yesterday, but there's times when he's not making shots where we slow down tremendously. I'm a little worried about that, but hopefully it does work well. Hopefully Monk does alley-oops to LaVine nonstop, and Sabonis does the pick and roll and all that stuff. So I have optimism for sure, and I do think we will make another move. And if for some reason we don't, I'm hopeful we can try to get somebody that is a free agent or gets bought out. To me right now, I don't know why we haven't got a flyer on Mo Bamba. He's 26. Yes, he's injury prone, but he's 26. And I think he's healthy right now. 7 foot, long wingspan. Why not do a vet minimum like we have on the other 2 guys we picked up? That's, again, if we don't pick up anybody, but we obviously desperately need size.
100%. Good job. Appreciate you, Alex.
Yeah, no problem. Now, last thing I want to throw in. I was happy about Jay winning. It was a big swerve, but now I'm very fearful that it's going to be John and Cody at Mania, which I wanted at first. Now I'm not quite sure about it, because then who does Cody face? It's kind of weird.
John and Cody at WrestleMania is the worst possible idea that WWE could ever do. All you need to do is go to WrestleMania 20 and rewind to what happened when they put Goldberg and Lesnar out there together. you are going to have constant boos because you are now putting Cody against John Cena, and Cody should be nowhere near John Cena because you don't want fans to ever start to say, oh, well, Cody's kind of corporate guy, you know, big baby face like Cena, because then they're going to turn and bad idea. I'm with you. But
I hear you. I hear you for sure, but I think it's different because Lesnar and Goldberg were both on their way out. You know what I mean? I think that was more of the backlash back then.
that's why I think it's worse though here because
Oh,
it's
okay.
Cody's already towing that line. He's doing it very well where
Yeah.
he's not super Cena yet, but we'll talk about it on another show.
No, yeah, well, maybe Friday or something when it's more
Definitely.
lax. But yeah, also again, before I head out, I desperately want Valanciunas. I hope we can land him. If not, like I said, Mo Bamba, get him off. He's a free agent. Why not? But you take care, man. Can't wait. And I guess stay close to LaVine is the catchphrase now, right?
Yeah, right. It used to be go Kings, light the damn beam, stay the hell away from LaVine. That was
Yeah.
the line. So, but things have changed. Things have
Yeah,
changed.
it does. Zach LaVine.
Oh my gosh, here we go. All the catchphrases. For those asking about the differences between Fox and LaVine's games, the best comparison that I can give you is Fox is that really good, reliable, old wooden roller coaster where it's bumpy. It's got some good solid drops. It's up, it's down. But it always comes through. And think about it when I relate it to that, because Fox would have quarters where he maybe only had 2 points, 4 points, 3 shots. And then he'd have quarters where he'd have 17, 20, etc. There was never a constant 48-minute smoothness to Fox's game, with the exception of certain nights. Zach LaVine, when he's on, he's like a really, really nice sports car. Really nice sports car. It's completely steady and smooth, and reliable, high performance, looks good. But you take a little, you hit a pothole and the alignment's out just a tiny bit, that thing don't drive right. So you're going to notice those differences. And I would say, and I use the sports car reference too, because, 0 to 60, it's quick. Zach LaVine can explode for a lot of points very quickly. They're just different. And mindsets, I don't know, because I haven't been around Zach. I've watched him from afar. But Zach definitely sees himself, probably, and this is my presumption based off of watching his game, he sees himself as the guy. Now, it doesn't mean he can't play well with the others, but he sees himself as the guy. Debatable whether or not De'Aaron Fox saw himself as the guy. He certainly wanted to be the guy in the eyes of a lot of Kings fans, but clearly he doesn't want to be the guy because he's going to play with the guy. I've said it for 2-3 years. De'Aaron Fox is not a number 1. He's a 1B. He made our point for us. He's going to be a 1B next to 1A Victor Wembanyama. In some ways, Foxy wants the easier path instead of the harder path, I think. That's the easy path, to go play with Wemby. Hell, don't call me a Fox hater. LeBron got the same stuff. Kevin Durant got the same rap for going to Golden State. It's the reason Fox wanted to be there. So interesting stuff. I think that's a big difference in their games. Tell me if you feel differently on that. Bull. I see some comments there. Good point. Bonus can dribble. You guys are talking within. Brother Sai. What's up, Brother Sai? I like that name, Brother Sai. How you doing, Brother Sai? If you haven't seen LaVine this season, peep this. It's gonna be, or you're gonna be happy. Like I said, really nice sports car. You're gonna see LaVine, and you're gonna say,
Doesn't get any better than this.
He can shoot the ball so well. He's incredibly smooth. His form is beautiful. He's athletic as hell. You just better hope that everything is running right. That's it. That is it. And I do think, and I say this again, I do think he can fit in well with the team, because here's the point with Sacramento. I think this is, if you've been a fan of this team for long enough, you know this. Sacramento is never, ever, ever built around one person when they're successful. They're not. You got 3-4 different guys that are all extremely good at different things. And when they all do those different things together, they're an unbelievable team and an incredible force to beat. And I think Zach LaVine can play into that very well. It's going to be a nightmare for some teams. Think about this. Just think about this logistically with your starting five. If you have Malik Monk, and one of the things teams were doing, by the way, to the Kings after they went on their win streak, they were starting to spread the Kings out defensively. That probably will still happen to a degree. But offensively now, for the Kings, if you're running the pick and roll, just think about this for a second, which the Kings want to do. You've got the Monk-Sabonis pick and roll, which is an absolute nightmare. And by the way, Zach LaVine is way more active than De'Aaron Fox offensively. Way more active. If Zach LaVine doesn't have the ball, he will cut. He will be coming off screens. De'Aaron a lot of times will be standing. He'll cut once in a while, but not like LaVine will. But think about, if you are a coach scheming for the Kings offense, you've got a Sabonis Monk pick and roll going on wherever they decide to do it, whether it's top of the key, whether it's on the wings, whether it's closer to half court, free throw line extended. One side of the court, you've got DeMar DeRozan. The other side of the court, you've got Zach LaVine. And then you have Keegan Murray floating around and flying around for rebounds. You can't lean one way or the other. Your pick and roll defense has to be absolutely spot on. Who are you going to help off? DeRozan or LaVine? So there is a high potential for this to look very good. Question is, can it be sustainable, and can you keep filling the pieces in around them? Let's see. You know what? I don't care. I'll say their names here. Deuce and Mo broke down how awesome Zach is at challenging defense without fear and cuts very well. Good for them. Good for them. They know basketball 101. Well done. What's up, brother Sai? LaVine looks better this season. Yes, he does. If you haven't seen LaVine, yes, you guys are talking amongst. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So a lot that we've covered today. If you were just tuning in, as Alex said, by the way, press conference is finally tomorrow. And let me tell you, I am going to be very interested to see how long they take questions at these press conferences. Alex said they're doing two different ones, 9:30 and 12. Monty has in the past at press conferences said if you ask a question not related to what you're having the press conference about, he won't answer the question. He'll say, well, we're here to talk about this. So I've got to check my phone, check my timelines about that. But look, this media is dying. I can promise you. I know I've spoken to some of them. They are dying to be in a room on the record, an open forum to ask Monty McNair questions. So it looks like that's going to happen tomorrow ahead of Zach's first game here in Sacramento. He will be introduced. Also, trade deadline. My goodness, it is coming quick. Trade deadline is coming here in just about, what are we at? We are about 45 hours. 44 hours away from the trade deadline. So any last minute calls you guys want to get in here? We've got a couple of minutes left in the show. Now is the time to call. You can hit the QR code. Get in here before we take off. Would love to hear from you. By the way, it's only 3:47, which means you still have a couple of hours to get to Bennett's for happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock. Every day of the week, their sips and tastes. Bennett's American Cooking, fine prime cuts of seafood and steak. 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area: Roseville, Rockland, the newest one in the Blue Oaks Town Center, Howe, and Fair Oaks. Also, can't find a better place for a prime cut of New York steak. Also, prime rib on the weekends, one of my favorites. Weekend brunch, 11 to 2. All 3 locations and a bunch of other specials in between. Did you make it there last night for the Wine and Dine Monday? $70, under $70, get you a bottle of wine and 2 entrees. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Check out all the great specials, the amazing menus. I'm telling you, if you're not in the mood for a steak, check out the seafood. The redfish, incredible. One of my favorites. Trust me, it's not red like Grant's hair, but it's blackened. It comes with some sauteed spinach. One of my favorite dishes. Want something lighter? There's steak Cobb salad, off the charts, homemade soups, desserts, etc. Bennett's is the place for you. In fact, I'm kind of feeling hungry right now. Look at how good that looks. Look at the prime New York down below. A lot of good stuff there. Like I said, 3 locations in the greater Sacramento area. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can make reservations, put in your orders online now, and much more right there on the website. Check out the menu, phone numbers, and more at Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring today's episode of The King's Court. We got a busy week coming up. We need a big man. There's not a ton out there. There is not a ton out there. Donald still, yo, Athena. Yo. What's up, Athena? Brother side. That's a heck of a handle. I'm not going to lie. I like that. What's up, Jose? Will the Kings make the playoffs this year? Ask me after Thursday. Depending on whether or not they make a couple moves to size up the depth, I'll be better equipped to answer that. Do the Kings, I feel more confident saying today the Kings probably will make the play-in. At least as they sit today. Yep, 45 more hours. Indeed. Good job by you, Suf. Let's go back to the phones. Oh, Alex is back for a second helping. What's up, dude?
Hey, sorry, man. I hate to double dip in life and in phone calling, but I did forget one thing. I don't know if you saw Jason Anderson had a really good article this morning on the Sac B. Did you check that out, or did you hear about that?
I did not, no.
Okay, well, it was, long story short, basically about DeRozan, how he was, talking last night about how good LaVine is and how he's glad to have him on the team. But also how, I don't know if you caught, I know Grant doesn't watch the Sacramento telecast, but you do, correct? Or you don't either?
No, I watch Sacramento telecast.
Okay, well, DeRozan was talking about how it's been weird going on. There's been weird stuff this past month where we kind of thought it was this past week or two. So that kind of elaborated a little bit more too. And then they just kept elaborating more about DeRozan unfollowing Fox on the socials, and it's like, okay, maybe there's a lot more to this stuff that we didn't know. Maybe we'll never know. And the team obviously played decent yesterday. I don't know. What do you think about that stuff I laid out?
Yes, there's been stuff going on past the last couple of weeks. I talked about it at length. There's been stuff going on since before Mike was fired. I mean, we've talked about a lot of it here on the channel. As much as we can talk about. We've alluded to a lot of it. In terms of guys unfollowing guys, I don't put much into that. It is what it is. And Jason does great work. I just didn't have a chance. I've been doing my own stuff, talking to my own sources, so I haven't had a chance to read it. But one thing about DeMar is he is very genuine. He's as real as they come. If you have not gone to check out his book that came out before the season, you should absolutely do that. Basketball, there is so much more. There is so much better about DeMar DeRozan, so much more to DeMar DeRozan than basketball. So what he says, I would go by that and definitely, go check it out. Yeah. Good shout out to Jason. He does good work.
Yeah, for sure, man. Just want to throw that in there, and have a great rest of your day. And hopefully, we can get something good in return if we do some trades.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Alex. All right, let's bring in Ralph. What's up, Ralph?
Hey, Rhino. Well, I have a few questions on Fox, and then some stuff about the Luca trade, if
Yeah,
don't
let's go
mind.
for it.
Just getting your opinion on it.
Yeah,
I guess
for
starting
sure.
with the whole Mavs trade, and just because I heard some of the bits of the press conference on social media, do you think at all, if you were a betting person, that there was definitely some backdoor either collusion, or do you think that Nico Harrison was just tunnel vision all the way to wanting AD? Or do you think that there was definitely some backdoor things happening?
No, I don't think there's a lot of speculation about, the ownership wanting to build a casino, and I think there's nothing to it. Nico Harrison has wanted AD. He's had a good relationship with AD. Dallas, and even if you look at what Dallas did last year by going double bigs at the trade deadline, and they felt like that was a big reason that got them over the hump to the finals. He felt like that's the best way to go with this team. And I can tell you, because what's been reported nationally, what my partner Napes has talked about, there has been a ton of frustration inside the building about dealing with Luca, obviously problems with his weight, problems with his team, problems with him, obviously arguing with the officials. And it just became to the point where they thought they would be better off, and they sought out the player that they wanted, and they got him. So I don't see anything. What do you think?
I think, well, I guess what's fishy, even if there wasn't anything with them going back to their days at Nike, I still would have done my due diligence to ask, because then don't you get a higher price, whether it's picks or things like that, just to put a little bit of pressure on the Lakers, like, hey, we can actually get Luka from you, other than just going to, looks like only talking to one team and only talking to your buddy Rob. So I feel like you would still want to at least see what's out there, or maybe because once you get to the agents, I guess that's the other side of it, is you don't even want to let that get out there.
I don't think, and I don't know how long you've been with us. I talked about it about 45 minutes ago. I don't think there's any way Dallas could have controlled this thing had they tipped Luka off. Had they talked to any other teams, this would have turned into just probably the biggest. You think this Jimmy Butler stuff's big that's going on right now? It would be nothing compared, because every team would want Luka. And yes, you probably at the end could have got more, but the pressure that would have been put on that front office from the fan base, from Luka's camp, there would have never been a deal good enough for the fan base or anybody else, because they didn't want to part with Luka. So I agree with you on this point. They could have got more than Anthony Davis How do you not come out with Dalton Connect too? How do you not come out with a draft pick? How do you not with you there? I think that is a little bit different, but if you value a player that much, then that's their choice. But yeah, you bring up some good points. I see
I
it.
just hope for the Kings' sake we don't see the best of Luca terrorizing us, and then they have Derek Lively 2.0 or whoever that would be. They build around maybe not this year, I think, but maybe next year, and he terrorizes us for years to come. This guy magically all of a sudden is 20 pounds of muscle heavier and things like that, or lighter, things like that. So
for sure. Here's the other thing, but the other move they made today, I mean, Nico Harrison is showing they're trying whatever they believe in. They believe that this is the right thing to do, and they think they can win like right now, this year with AD and Caleb Martin coming in to kind of be the 3-and-D. Because they gave up on a good young talent to get Caleb Martin.
Taking it to the Kings, and I've just been definitely processing what happened with De'Aaron, and then it's definitely like hitting me. But at the same time, I'm not. I think within the past 3-4 years, or definitely after the Beam Team season with De'Aaron, I'm just curious. And I understand people age and they mature. I don't feel like we ever saw the De'Aaron after the Kentucky loss. Maybe because he was emotional and definitely raw. We got eventually, as De'Aaron grew, he became very cavalier in his attitude, almost nonchalant and don't give a F type of responses. Why do you think we never got that kind of De'Aaron? Or do you think it's because he learned from that and he's 8 years older? Don't get me wrong. I just feel like we definitely got someone different. The him holding his phone finger on Snapchat, or is it because we're basketball hell? We broke him. maybe it's that.
Look, I think you could write an entire book about De'Aaron Fox's time in Sacramento. I think people change, people grow. I mean, not a lot of people know that Keegan Murray had anger issues when he was younger. Legitimate anger issues. Went to counseling, worked it out. That's why he's the way he is now on the court. He's just so steady, not cracking a smile, never gets too mad. I think that at a lot of time during De'Aaron's time here, there was pressures on him that were undue. And I think he got a bad shake. But conversely, I think he also got to a place where he got a little too big for his bridges. I think he maybe felt like he was doing as much as he could when there was clearly more that could be done, and at least working things out. He let little things turn into big things that ended up affecting the team. And it felt like, and it seems like you know a lot about Fox, you know a lot about the team, but in the last 2 or 3 years, watching the transformation from him early on to now, almost like he kind of lost that joy of playing basketball.
Yeah.
He lost that smile that he is so well known for. And you could use so many examples, whether it's constantly arguing with the referees, whether it's the press conference after the Detroit game, just a flip switch. And really, I think De'Aaron's the only one that someday can answer that.
And sticking strictly with basketball, and the emotion is definitely in the human side as part of it. I feel like when do you think he definitely I feel like he stopped getting better after he plateaued, maybe year 5, maybe after the Beam Team year, but there was Sabonis. I felt like there was a point he's just stopped getting better for me. And he was ascending, and then he just plateaued. When was that for you? When did you see him kind of you didn't feel like he was taking the next steps?
Last year. 100% last year. The reliance on the 3-point shot, the unwillingness to go inside as much as he used to, the lack of pushing the pace, the inconsistencies. I just felt like something changed last year, and that runs deep. Think about this. I'm going to give you an alternate side to it. Foxy has been the quote unquote face of the franchise. He's the one that Vivek always talks about handing the keys over to. And then Sabonis comes in here They make the playoffs. They break the streak, right? That summer, Sabonis gets extended. There was money that could have been used to get some more players on the court. There was no reason to extend Sabonis when they did. He wasn't going to go anywhere. And so I just think that some frustration started there because this is De'Aaron's prime in his eyes. He wants to win. This was his best chance to win, and then we're running it back. And so getting Rich Paul, that's the turning point. As soon as Rich Paul gets hired as De'Aaron's agent, now you know something has completely changed with him. So I think it was last year by far.
I got a nugget for you before I go. Also, I think you're an SDSU guy.
Yes.
Also,
yes.
Let's go Aztecs.
Hell yeah.
I
What
listen
year did
a
you
lot.
go?
2013 to 2017.
Nice.
So you just missed Kawhi. So, but do you think that Mugungwa could play in the NBA? I think he needs to get taller. Get bigger and stronger. But do you think he has NBA potential, Mugungwa? I don't know how much you've seen this
I
year.
think there's some raw potential there. Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe the Kings could take a swing when he ends up being eligible, but I like him. 7 feet
So
tall.
were you part of the show? Were you going to a lot of the games?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the
Hell
games.
yeah,
I was there 2 Saturdays ago against UNLV. The run into the final. Oh man.
Oh my gosh. It was incredible. Jimmy Butler was just there.
Yeah, that was
this
so
weekend.
random. We couldn't figure out. We were trying to ask ourselves, what's he doing here? The Spurs are playing.
Yeah.
Literally the same time. It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's that's so cool that you went to SDSU. Thanks for calling. We'll have to connect sometime.
All right, sounds good. Thanks,
Good stuff, man. Good job, Ralph. Heck yeah, man. I love when another Aztec gets up in here. You kidding me? That's awesome. Ralph got the updated version of SDSU, man. Ralph has the trolley that runs everywhere now. Everything up and down College Avenue it's College Avenue is completely different. It all developed now. I just got University Towers on Montezuma, man. He had the world at SDSU, and now I was just there a couple of years ago. It is nuts what they have done with that campus. And yeah, the run, that run to the Final Four, that was a long time coming. SDSU is and I'm going to tie this back really quick to Sacramento in Sac State. SDSU is exactly what I think about when I think about Sac State. And hear me out for a second. When I got to SDSU, Steve Fisher had only been there for a couple of years. Steve Fisher was also an assistant coach with the Kings before he took the SDSU job. He was also the interim coach for Michigan with the Fab Five. I'm sure a lot of you remember the Fab Five. So we would have Jalen Rose around. We would have Webb around. A lot of those guys, Gary Grant, Mark Haynes. They would all come back all the time. And SDSU sucked. I mean, we sucked. We were bad. And then when I got there, they finally got a couple of good recruits. They had a good player, Tony Bland, but they got a couple of good recruits. My second year, Marcus Slaughter, Brandon Heath, who actually did briefly play for the Lakers. Both of those guys were my roommates sophomore year. Brandon Heath also very, very close, very good friends with DeMar DeRozan, grew up with DeMar DeRozan. And the program started to grow. It was a slow burn, but they had a plan. The arena was the show, Ralph, the show was like a quarter of the way up the bowl, bro. The show was not even all the way up the bowl. And Chris Walton was on our team as well. What I'm saying is it was this progression for SDSU to go from the WAC to the Mountain West to now to the Pac-12 to start making Mountain West tournament finals, to then make NCAA tournaments and lose in the first or second round, to then make it to the Sweet 16 and have a Kawhi Leonard come through, and then make it to Steve Fisher steps out, Brian Dutcher, Brian Dutcher was always going to be the coach when Coach Fisher stepped out. Those two were partners in everything that they did. Amazing guys, by the way. Amazing guys. Brian Dutcher, freaking funniest guy I know. Anyways, I'm not going to get into stories, but I could tell you some really funny stories about Dutch. But here's how I relate it back to Sac State. Sac State wanting to go from whatever they're in now, the WAC. They're not even in the WAC. They're in, I know it's changed, but their idea of jumping from where they are now, where they're not even in the bowl, NCAA, whatever it's called. They're in the championship series. They're not in the bowl series. So you can't make that jump. These programs have to go through these ups and these downs. These programs have to go through the progressions, right? And that's why when they wanted to jump, I'm like, there's no way you can do it. And them going to the Mountain West, or UC Davis going to the Mountain West, but Sac State now getting a new arena. That's what SDSU ended up doing. They got the Cox Arena, which is now Viejas Arena, right? So Sac State's doing the right things. It just takes time. And I guess what I'm trying to say in a very long-winded, nostalgic Uncle Rico, where's my Letterman jacket, creepy way is Sac State fans, you're on the right track. It's just got to take time. But hearing Ralph talk about that in the years he was there from 13 to 17, 100%. It will come. It just doesn't come that soon. And it has now come to SDSU. So anyways, back to the Kings. We're getting ready to wrap up. Good stuff from Ralph. Last minute comments. When's Zach going to make his debut? He's going to play tomorrow, presumably. 9:30 press conference for Monty tomorrow, by the way. So Monty is going to address the media. This is so weird. At 9:30. Why are they doing two? Okay, I'll pay attention to my ex, and I'll try to get some answers to this. But 9:30, there's going to be a press conference with Monty. And then at 12 p.m., it's going to be Monty and Zach introducing Zach LaVine. Or excuse me, 12 p.m. So 2 press conferences tomorrow. Zach is expected to play tomorrow against Orlando. If you're just joining us, Orlando lost last night in San Francisco. They have won 1 game in their last 10. They are 1-9 and continuing to struggle. Good game for the Kings, about as good of a game for the Kings as possible to come off an East Coast road trip. And incorporating another piece in Zach LaVine. And let me tell you, incorporating Zach LaVine should not, I'm going to say this, and I haven't said it all show, incorporating him should not be difficult if the Kings play similar to what they have in the 4 games without De'Aaron Fox. If you continue to play that style of basketball offensively, what you saw last night to start the game, and no, I don't expect 17 points from Keegan Murray, but team basketball, ball moving, most importantly, putting pressure on the defense, everybody being a possible threat to score. I know, I'm kind of torn. Grant's really got me. Grant's like, oh, the Magic, they're terrible. The Kings are going to win that one. And I've been kind of thinking, well, they still got Paolo, they still got Wagner. So we'll see. Either way, it's going to be a good game. The building's going to be rocking. If you're going to the G1C, go show Zach some love. Remember, he was signed to an offer sheet here in Sacramento. The Bulls matched it in like 5 minutes. So it should be a fun one. His debut, and then the Kings head back out on the road. By the way, if anything happens between now and tomorrow, we will be back on the air tonight. Can promise you that. We will be back. Grant jinx and stuff. You know, he usually doesn't jinx too much, but I don't disagree with you there. I'm not a massive fan of Grant talking about it. You know, like saying, so you're telling me there's a chance Orlando.
So you're telling me there's a chance. Yeah!
So we will see. It's going to be a fun one. Fun show today. Appreciate all of you for being here. Trade deadline, 48 hours away. The colleagues in the media, the credentialed ones, they are going to have a restless night. They get their chance to speak to Monty McNair publicly tomorrow, presumably the 9:30 press conference. But that's what's so bizarre to me. Why are you... Do you guys have a couple more minutes? Can I rap with you for a second? This has been a long show. Tell me if I'm wrong. Call me out. Anybody from the Kings, please don't take this the wrong way. I am just simply trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to make sense of why you're doing 2 press conferences. Now, if you were doing 2 press conferences, hear me out. If you're doing 2 press conferences and this is after the trade deadline on Thursday, I would still kind of be like, that's weird, but I get it. Because you want start capping, Ryan. Yeah. I don't really cap or rap that well.
Where'd you learn to talk like this?
But why are you doing the press conference before the trade deadline's over? See, I would have just stuck. Here's what I would have done. And I'm going off of very limited information, so this might not age well. But tomorrow, I would just introduce Zach and do the press conference with him and not take any questions about the trade deadline and say, we'll do a press conference at the end of the trade deadline. And that's when you take the rest of those questions. I'm interested in why they're doing a 9:30 and a 12. Because what's the point? Hear me out. What's the point of doing the 9:30 if you're not going to take questions about the deadline? Maybe the 9:30 is strictly to talk about the Mike Brown situation. I don't know, but why would you wait this long? They already did the softball interview with Mark Jones. Got something up the sleeve. It's weird. Does it mean a move is coming? But see, Zach, that's what I mean. There's 2 different press conferences. 12 o'clock is Monty and Zach. You're introducing Zach at 12 o'clock. But there's also a 9:30 press conference before that with just Monty. You know? Let's work this out really quick. Put it in the chat. Help me work through this. The Kings will hold 2 separate press conferences tomorrow. 9:30 and 12 p.m. 9:30, Monty McNair. 12 p.m., Monty McNair and Zach LaVine. So does that mean that... So hear me out. Does that mean that the Kings would hold a 3rd press conference at the end of the trade deadline Does that mean that the Kings might not be making another move before the end of the deadline? Does that mean that 9:30 is only to take questions about De'Aaron Fox? Because certainly you don't want to sit there and have Zach LaVine. That would be the only likely scenario to me. Here's the likely scenario. Okay, John, I got you. John's like begging for it. John's like, it's never made more sense to hit him with
Don't
this.
make no sense.
So here's my working theory. They don't want to take a ton of questions about De'Aaron Fox and the dysfunction that was going on. And they don't want to take a ton of questions about all that in front of Zach LaVine. They want Zach LaVine to be Zach LaVine. Welcome to Sacramento. Zach, what are you looking forward? Zach, how much are you looking forward to being reunited with DeMar DeRozan? Zach, how do you feel this Kings team fits with your style of play? Zach, how much does your relationship with Coach Christie, going all the way back to both of you being from Seattle, have you excited? Is it full circle that you're going to be playing for Coach Christie? They want that at 12 o'clock. They don't want, hey, Zach, welcome to Sacramento. Monty, about De'Aaron Fox, did he request a trade? I get why you want those separated. But I also that also means you've got to have a third press conference at the end of the deadline. There's got to be a third one. It's just weird timing. Definitely different. Oh, amen, Cody. Caruso, Patrick Williams, Vucevic, Kobe, White, any one of them I would love to have on the Kings. Cody, when we talked about, by the way, anybody that's been watching this for a minute, okay, we'll just keep talking. If you guys are entertained and we have questions and there's stuff to talk about, we will keep talking for a few more minutes. I don't have a commitment until 5 p.m. But when we were talking about a Fox deal, I said, if you're going to do anything with Chicago, because they're looking to blow it up, go get me Patrick Williams. Go get me Kobe White. I didn't say LaVine. Get some picks. I'm good with it. That was the type of deal that I was expecting. But yeah, any of those dudes, if you could still get Kobe White, oh my gosh. Perfect fit. You think Caruso's moving? I don't think Caruso is going any. Why would they part with Caruso? He's been hurt, though. Yeah, it would make sense if they get the Brown Fox questions out of the way before LaVine. Yes, it does. Yes, that makes sense. I give them that. I'm just saying that you got to have a third one. Okay, but here's the middle ground, though. Okay, this is where it gets choppy. This is where it gets really choppy because Monty did this perfectly with the exit interviews at the end of the season when they were asking about Coach Brown and extensions and stuff like that. He deferred it. I'm not here to talk about the coaching. That's not my decision, yada, yada, yada. So I guess the part I don't like about doing the separate press conference before the end of the trade deadline is any type of possible out where if there's a question that somehow could be tied to something still at the trade deadline that's up in the air or that could happen, it's going to be a really awkward and bad look if Monty has to say, I can't talk about that because the trade deadline. That could affect what we're talking about or looking at the trade deadline. So I'm just saying it sets up kind of weird. The format of the two separate press conferences, I get it. You don't want all this drama in front of Zach LaVine. Understood. But if you're Monty McNair and you're at that 9:30, look, that 9:30, I can promise you, I've said it a few times, there are members of the media that are going to be ready to go. You know what the first question is going to be? Monty, why didn't you guys have a press conference after Mike Brown was fired? That'll be a good icebreaker, right? Oh my gosh. You know, that Monty McNair 9:30 press conference might run straight into the Zach LaVine press conference if they took every question that wanted to be asked. But nonetheless, at least they are doing press conferences. So we are all good there. I have no idea if LaVine is a Raider or Niners fan. Does Zach light the beam tomorrow? I think you gotta have him light the beam if he plays well enough. Caruso is already on OKC Thunder. They traded for him. Josh Giddey. I know. That's why I said, why would you get rid of him if you're OKC? Yeah, Cody, dude, Cody's a G. Cody, look, every time we went live during the playoffs or we have done anything in person, Cody and his wife have been there. And they're like there before we get there. Cody is a freaking G. He knows his stuff too. So, all right, that's going to do it. I guess we've kind of worked this out. But here's the deal. Keep paying attention to the trade deadline. Anything changes between now and then. By the way, actually, I don't know how many people are still here. Do you want a live show right after the Monty press conference? Do you want a live show right after the Monty press conference? Give me a yes or no, and I will clear my schedule to make that happen. Dennis, what is so important that you DM'd me? Okay. Thank you. I didn't check. Okay. Yeah, so it's just what we know. Yeah. It's the press release. Yeah. It's probably in my email now. I just can't access my email. Thank you, Dennis, for that. Yeah, so it's the two separate. Yes, it is interesting. No, if it's a boring press conference. All right, we'll figure it out. Yes. Yes, go live. Okay. We'll we could go live. You guys want to do a live reaction? We could probably run the audio from the press conference while it's going on because we're transforming the media. So we will tell Grant Stanley. You know, I don't remember Stanley as much as many of you do. I understand Stanley was a pretty polarizing guy, but I do not remember him as much. All right. Well, the Kings always doing Kings things, which is two press conferences on the same day. All good. At least Monty's going to face the media. Fun day today. Remember, trade deadline still a little bit of a ways away. Will another move be coming? And I sure as hell hope that Monty doesn't duck questions because of the deadline. And Monty, you know I really like you, man. I like what you do. Think you're a really nice guy. Had some good conversations, brother. But I hope that you're not being put in a bad spot by ownership either with this. I truly mean that. I mean that because of the owner that you're dealing with. But it will be interesting. Enjoy the rest of your day, your evening. If anything happens with the Kings, we will be back. Quick recap. Tomorrow, Zach LaVine should be playing his first game. He's being introduced at 12 o'clock. Orlando in town tomorrow. That was what the Kings have in draft assets still. Or excuse me, in assets and what they could do. And the deadline is on Thursday at 12 o'clock. So a lot going. Then we hit this as well. These are the teams that are projected to have to make luxury tax payments, which means the 18 teams not in the luxury tax are expected to get $15.7 million, which means that Davion Mitchell deal earned the Kings decent, or excuse me, the Jaden McDaniels deal earned the Kings a decent chunk of change. That was a bigger deal than you thought it was going to be. So there we go. We are out. Appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of the night. If we're back tonight, you'll know. Pay attention to our X accounts and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, because that is how you will get notifications if we are going live. Appreciate all you. Fun show. Long show today. Starting to lose my voice. All good. But like I said, we will have our ears to the pavement as the next 48 hours will determine what this roster looks like for the remaining part of the season. Man, this season's like almost gone, y'all. Crazy that it's almost gone. A lot of fun. By the way, I'm going to be doing an audio-only podcast talking a little bit more about the De'Aaron Fox situation. So make sure that you are subscribed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, all completely free. You get some good premium audio there. Make it a great rest of the day. I guess I got to cut that LaVine part out of my outro. Go Kings, light the damn beam. Welcome home, LaVine. We're out of here. Court's dismissed.